Ross Ulbricht earlier this year filed a motion. It was a lawsuit that was basically he was seeking closer communication with his family. For those of you who haven't been following the case, he got a really harsh sentencing, which included him not actually being allowed to use any computing devices forever, in perpetuity, ever again in his life. So he filed a lawsuit basically saying that he has no way to communicate with his father. And it's actually a violation of his religious beliefs, where he believes strongly that he needs to honor his mother and father. He filed this lawsuit. It was dismissed. It was just announced that they are not going to be upholding that, not going to be pursuing that. So very sad to see that. Interested to see what the Ulbricht family comes out with next, try and give some sort of clemency or easement of this ridiculously draconian sentencing. It's very difficult for him to have any communication with his family. He gets very few visiting rights, very few hours outside of his cell. Is not allowed any electronic devices, so he just can't communicate with the outside world. The only way that he can communicate is by people sending him letters, basically printouts of internet articles, things that you find interesting. So there have been a lot of awesome work in that regard, people sending him stuff. But I'll throw to the group for your thoughts. It's just kind of a very sad state of affairs, but they're still fighting and there's still hope there. And they did raise a ton of money 2 weeks ago with the Free Ross DAO. So we'll see if that provides any easement there. But Will, I'll throw it to you for your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. So notably, he can't use any electronic devices at all. Like that was part of the settlement, or that was part of the terms of the prison sentencing. And that kind of goes back to his role in creating the Silk Web or Silk Road rather. And I guess that makes sense to a degree, that they're like a judge would see that and be like, hey, we don't want you to be part of any form of the internet, because they viewed it as him being part of a very destructive part of the internet. Whether you agree with that or not, not interested in my point here, but I am wondering, like, how does he like tweet and how does he communicate with other people? Because he just had that NFT drop, and like he does have a pretty active Twitter account. Is that all through like pen and paper that's sent outside and then someone runs it for him, or?
Yeah, so he communicates via phone with people who run this account for him. His family members do that. And he also communicates via written messages as well. So sometimes he'll pen blogs. He's written some really great articles. He's even done some inventing. Like if you look at his blog, he's been very productive in prison and coming up with all these systems, which is incredible because he doesn't have the research tools at his fingertips to understand what else is out there and compare. But he's still coming out with all this interesting stuff, and he's doing it all via pen and paper and sending that out or dictating it over the phone. And this system, I mean, it's important to realize that this system within the prison that he would be communicating with his father with, it's not even like an open internet system. It's a completely moderated, completely controlled system that has very, very slim functionality that would allow him to communicate, and they still won't let him have access to that. So it's really, really sad to see that. But Jen, I'll throw it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, for religious reasons or not, I mean, just put yourself in his position. Imagine not being able to contact your parents even over a heavily moderated messaging system. I've always had really high hopes for what could happen to Ross as the technology becomes more understood and as there's more regulation. And I've always hoped that possibly we would see some kind of reparation for him. But the verdict, and not even the verdict, the dismissal of this case has kind of squashed that. I mean, just the fact that this was dismissed, there was no conversation about it, and he can't speak to his father, just tells me that I don't think we'll be seeing that, no matter how much progress we see outside of the prison he's in. So it was a sad story for me to read this morning.
Yeah, indeed. Zach, any final thoughts?
DAOs fix this. I think it's going to be interesting to see if this DAO can actually do anything here. It doesn't seem like it, which makes me feel a little bit weird about that DAO, but it's cool that people are supporting and trying to get some funds to make change happen on this front. If that DAO were to make change happen, that would be a major win and a big story for Web3 if that was to come to pass. But if this is the current state of play with the legal system regarding this case, that is going to be a hard row to hoe for the free raw stout movement. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. But this is an interesting development for sure.